Welcome back to another video, and one of the questions on everybody's lips the last couple of weeks that I've seen people talking about online absolutely loads and not everyone kind of knowing the right answer and what has been going on is the question of, has the kind of published tables that have been released actually been a confirmation of the government's intention to offer teachers a pay rise? And this is one of those questions where everyone kind of gets a bit distracted and isn't really sure about, is this true, is it not true, has someone just released it as a kind of prank, or is it confirmed, that kind of thing. So we're going to go in today, talk a little bit about what they have said, what's going to happen next, and whether or not it's actually been confirmed yet. Now, as you can hear from my voice, it's been a bit of a long week. My wife, my baby and I have all been pretty unwell this week. We've had some kind of weird chest infection-y bug. We've done all the kind of tests and we've all been negative, but we're all just a bit ill, so I do apologise for the croaky voice. Hopefully it'll go away by the time I film my next couple of videos, but fingers crossed very soon we'll all be back and fighting fit again. So do just put up my croaky, scratchy voice today, please, because we've got some good information to offer to you. So on the screen I'll show you a few different tables at the minute, which you can see have been circling on the different kind of on Twitter, on different Facebook teaching groups, people asking, are these real, are these true, what do they mean, that kind of thing, and just what is going on. And I'm here to tell you that actually they are not yet the confirmed pay rises. The government has not released what they are actually going to offer to teachers, but they have put forward some evidence to the Independent Teachers Review Body, the STRB, and that is what kind of offers, that's what makes the final decision on teachers' pay rises and what will happen going into next year. So it is a step in the right direction, and it's a very positive step in my opinion. I'll go into more about what it more means and what the steps are and how much it is in a few minutes. But they have released their kind of recommendations to that review body, and hopefully very soon they'll then come back with their own recommendations of what's actually going to go ahead for teachers. So to start off with all of this, it's important to remember that the government doesn't actually decide on its own just how much teachers do get paid. They can offer advice and they can offer evidence, they can offer what they believe is the right thing to do, and I'm sure they do have a good bit of influence over this decision, but it's actually decided by something called the Schools Teachers Review Body. Now, that is an independent body away from the government that decides on what pay rises are appropriate for teachers, and they look into all sorts of things, which is why kind of last year teachers didn't get pay rises even though they worked all the way through the pandemic, because it was believed that the public sector was meant to go on a pay freeze due to obviously the private sector having a bit of a harder time as well because of the pandemic. And so that's what happened. Whether you agree with it or not is another matter, but that's it. It's a review body and they just make these decisions, and they make them hopefully for the best for education at the end of the day. Now, I've talked before about teachers' starting salaries and the government's commitment to raise these to £30,000, which when I started it was about £22,000 to £23,000, so it's a very, very large rise over a short number of years, up to £30,000 at the start of the year. And obviously the older or the further on up the pay scale you are, therefore your pay will also have to increase too, though possibly not by the same amount. And the government kind of committed to this, and then due to the pandemic and various other reasons, this commitment kind of got pushed back and pushed back. And I thought it was one of those where, as I've seen with various governments before, various different political parties, I'm very politically not really committed to one party or another, but that's largely because I've seen in the past where people promise something then it's just not delivered, and I thought that was going to be something that was the case this time. However, that is not the case. The current Education Secretary has released what we're going to talk about today with his recommendations to teachers, to the School Teachers Review Body, and they have offered the evidence of talking about on the basis that teachers' pay should be increased to £30,000 over the next 2 years, and they're going to do this by increasing teachers' starting salaries up to that amount over kind of different percentages each year. I'll go into the precise percentages and the precise amounts in a minute, but they have actually said this is something we're still aiming to do and we still want to do it, and they're committing to it and they're bringing it up themselves, which looks very, very positive for teachers' salaries. Now, there are some issues with it as well that I'll go into at the end of this video, and some things where people don't quite believe it or think it maybe isn't so good. But personally, I think it can only be a good thing. I think encouraging more people getting into teaching by raising the salary to make it more competitive can only be a positive thing. I don't see how that can be a negative thing for teaching as a whole. I do obviously wish teachers earn way more money because I'm a teacher and who wouldn't want more money, but I think it's a very, very decent salary. It's, compared to other jobs in the country, I think it's about right what pay should be for a teacher at the minute. And so, yeah, I think it's a good thing that we're on the right track still, because I did not think it was something that was going to happen. So let's go on and talk about what they've actually said and how much we're actually going to hopefully one day see. So the government has said that teachers' starting salaries outside of London will rise from the current mark of 25,714. They'll hit 28,000 in the next academic year, which will be what, 2022 to 23, and then the year after that, 23 to 24, they will reach £30,000. Now, that is an over 16% increase in teachers' pay. It's a pay rise of just under £4,000, just over 2 years, which is absolutely massive for teachers. And it's very, very surprising, I think, to me that they have kept this commitment, but fair play to them, they have offered that commitment and they have said they want to commit to it. However, that does not mean, again, remember, this is definite. This means this is the evidence they've put forward. This said this is what they want to happen or this is what could happen, but it's not guaranteed. It's up to that teachers review body to then have a look at all the evidence and decide what is the best way forward. They've also said, the government, this is at the upper end of what is reasonable, so this might not be something that does definitely go through. But if it's inside what's reasonable, just at the upper end, we can all keep our fingers crossed and hope that is the case. But let's have a look more into a bit more of the detail and see just how much teachers' pay is going up and what that means when we compare it to inflation. The first thing to notice about the table on the screen is the percentages column on the right-hand side. Now this shows the percentage increase for each pay scale, starting with M1 at the top, which is the lowest pay scale, which is what you start on as an ECT, compared to the upper pay scale at the bottom with U1, 2 and 3. U3 is the higher end of the pay scale for teachers before you get onto kind of the leadership pay scale. Now, as you can see, this number does drop percentage-wise as you go down the scale. That's because teachers who are on a higher salary already are going to get a smaller percentage increase compared to lower ranking teachers on lower end of the pay scale. This is because this pay rise is not designed to keep teachers in education. It's designed to get more teachers into education at the start. Now, I do think there's a good argument here, and some of the union reps and the people who lead unions have made a very good case here, saying that actually part of the issue is not that we're not getting enough teachers in. It is part of the issue, but it's not the main issue. The main issue is teacher retention, and this does not help teachers kind of feel valued when they've put all the work in, they've worked for however many years, they've got to top end of the pay scale, and they're saying actually we're valuing your increase in pay less than the teachers who have only just started. That's not going to help teachers stay in the job for whatever reason. Now, people don't get into teaching because of the money. There are plenty of jobs out there that I could go and apply for, and I could earn a lot more money than I do as a teacher. However, it's also something that does help, and people want to earn more money, even though they do love the job for other reasons. They love the job for helping out and for helping children's dreams come true through education and through achieving their goals when they're older. Now, that's not to say that obviously pay is important, and I think people can see that as you get older and as you get through the pay scale, your pay not increasing by as much as the younger, newer teachers could be annoying. But I do think, teachers' pay is going up, even if it is not much, and that can only be a good thing to try and help teachers stay in the job. One of the big changes this year, though, is inflation. Now, the Bank of England always tries to keep inflation at about 2%, and that's kind of where it has been, or less than that, over the past few years. However, this year, due to various issues in the world going off, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I do not understand all of them, but inflation is hitting kind of 7-8%. So even the teachers right at the very end, at the very bottom of the pay scale, getting the 7.1% increase, are actually going to still be taking a real terms pay cut and earning slightly less real terms, as everything else is going up in price. And the teachers at the higher end of the pay scale getting a 2% increase, or they're taking almost a 5 or 6% pay cut in real terms based on inflation going up and everything being more expensive. And as you can see, again, this is where some teachers are not too happy with this. And this is not just a problem with the teaching, but across the public sector. Getting your average salaries, I think, are going up maybe 3%. Inflation is going up about 7 to 8%. So everything is going up in price quicker than your salary is going up every single week. So this could be a big problem if the inflation does keep going. And I'm sure the government is working on some way of kind of making sure to bring a way to bring inflation down again. But it's a problem that's affecting the entire world at the minute, and hopefully we'll come out the other side all right. But it's something that is kind of something to keep an eye on for next year, for the year after, just see how that is going compared to salary pay rises. Another area where people aren't too sure why this is the case is that in London, as you can see on the screen, teachers are still getting rises in their pay, but they are smaller than across the rest of the country. Now, people again aren't really sure why this is. It could be something to do with the fact that teachers in London are on a higher pay scale as it is. They have their own separate pay scale due to the cost of living being higher and things like rent being absolutely incredibly high in London compared to other areas across the country. But those teachers in London are getting a smaller pay rise in percentage terms compared to teachers across the rest of the country on the same level scale, so be it M1, M2, M3, wherever it is. Now, they haven't said why this is the case. They've just released the document, and I'm sure the unions again are looking into it, but it's just what is the evidence right now, and you never know. The school teacher review, it might change their minds and might say, actually, we disagree with that and we want the pay rise to be level across the whole country or higher in some places than others. We shall wait and see what they do about that, but at the minute, that's the evidence the government has put forward, or what they would like to happen. And for some reason, rises in London are smaller than the rest of the country. And the final semi-possible issue that you might have with these increases in pay is whether or not the government funds these increases with an increase of school budget. As we talked about in previous videos on this topic, school budgets go up when the government obviously says, yeah, we're going to fund education more and give that a bit more money. But when teachers get given pay rises, that money comes out of the budgets too. So if the school budgets don't increase by the same amount as what teachers are getting pay rises for, then schools would actually have less money to spend on kind of equipment for the children, things for the school like books and writing equipment, all your basic stuff that you need in a school, as some more of that money would have gone to the teachers. And again, this is something where it's a really hard balance to find. You want more pay, you want to have a better salary, but you also don't want to take anything away from the children in your class, because they obviously deserve way more than they get sometimes, as school budgets are always tight, they're always thin, and you're always kind of having to do your best to make do with what you have. We're very lucky to work in a country where we do have a lot going for us and we do have a lot to be thankful for, but it can be really difficult sometimes to make things meet in schools. In lots of schools I've heard of across the country, they end up kind of really struggling, and so again, that's something that could put a bit more pressure on. So thank you very much for watching this. Hopefully we'll find out very soon what the official confirmation is, and there will be a video about that on this channel when it does, so do subscribe and make sure you've got notifications on to watch out for when that video drops. Apart from that, a new video every Tuesday, every Friday and every Sunday, and I hope you very much enjoy watching. I'll see you soon.